This is Our News, the weekend edition. And on the broadcast tonight, the Deputy Prime Minister gives his views on whether the country would be able to manage another lockdown. Plus, the co-chair of the PLP's COVID-19 task force says with open borders, COVID-19 cases will continue to increase. And later on, one family's plea for help.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest says he doesn't think anywhere in the Bahamas is able to handle another lockdown. As the number of COVID-19 cases rises, there are questions over whether the country, particularly Grand Bahama, will face further restrictions. Turnquest said given the financial burden that comes along with it, he sees another lockdown as a difficult move for businesses and residents.
Well, I don't think anywhere in the Bahamas can handle a lockdown at this stage. We went through a very tough period earlier in the year, and we know that many businesses found it very difficult to survive during that period. It was a necessary lockdown, and so it had to be done. But it did put a lot of strain on the system, both in terms of government finances as well as private sector financing, as well as for individual families. And so to the extent that we can avoid having that kind of a shutdown again, certainly we want to do that.
Health officials have said if Bahamians do not adhere to measures put in place to prevent the spread of the virus, then tighter restrictions would have to be implemented. Turnquest said the advice of the Ministry of Health needs to be followed.
As in all these decisions, and as the Prime Minister would have said from the beginning, public health and safety is paramount. And we have to, that really drives and dictates the decisions that are being made with respect to lockdowns, curfews, and shutdowns. So we did anticipate that there would be an increase in the cases as a result of the opening of the border. That does not come as a total surprise to us. But we do need to make sure that we do our best to curtail that increase and that we continue to monitor and manage as best as we can with the resources that we have.
From the crime beat, police shot one armed robbery suspect overnight. According to reports, officers were on patrol on Collins Avenue and 6th Terrace shortly after midnight when they were stopped by a male who informed them that he was robbed at gunpoint by a group of 4 to 5 men who ran towards East Avenue. When officers proceeded to the area, they observed a group of men in the street. However, the suspects ran upon seeing the officers, who then pursued them. Police say one of the officers saw one of the suspects brandish an object believed to be a gun. The officer then discharged his weapon in the direction of the assailants, injuring one of the men as the other suspects escaped. The injured suspect is in stable condition in hospital. Police are also continuing investigations into a shooting incident. Shortly before 1 p.m. Friday, a man was walking through a shortcut off Shirley Street when several men approached him. One of the men reportedly produced a gun and shot the man. At last report, he was listed in stable condition. Police also reporting a few armed robberies on Friday. They are asking for your assistance in locating the suspects responsible for the separate incidents. In the first, a man was at his home on Taylor Street in Nassau Village around 8 a.m. when 2 men, one armed with a handgun, accosted him and robbed him of cash and a cell phone. Then shortly after 2 p.m., a gunman along with 2 other males reportedly accosted a female while outside a business establishment on Prince Charles Drive. The female screamed, which frightened the robbers, who then fled the scene. 2 hours later, 2 men entered a store on Malcolm Road and robbed the cashier of an undetermined amount of cash. Police investigations into all 3 matters continue. Well, opposition Member of Parliament Glenys Hannah Martin said high unemployment due to the COVID-19 pandemic is a tragedy. She said Bahamians are suffering and questioned the government's plan for relief for residents who have been evicted.
A lot of people are being evicted. There's been no proper housing program for people who've lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. The Prime Minister's plan does nothing really. It's just I'd like you to, but I'd like you to is not working because people are being evicted, young people, older persons, and they're facing homelessness. They have children.
Hannah Martin also took issue with the decision to allow 134 Mexican workers into the country when Bahamians are out of work.
To rationalize bringing in over 100 non-Bahamians to do construction work in Abaco is very hard. And to couch it in a way in which, because if they had said, well, this is specialized labor or something, you know, you could buy into it. But to couch it in a way in which you suggest that Bahamians are substandard and that you have to bring in others, et cetera, is just another blow on a people that have, you know, who are being beaten down by these circumstances.
The opposition MP said while the government's feeding program has done well, there must be a long-term plan.
There is a food program, which I think has appeared to be quite fairly efficient, I have to be honest, from what I'm seeing. But I think the biggest risk factor is people being able to sustain themselves and the psychological impact of not being able to, particularly if you have children and you are struggling to feed them.
Well, COVID-19 numbers will continue to climb, according to PLP COVID-19 Task Force co-chair Dr. Melissa Evans. She said it's simple science, that now that the borders are open, cases will increase. Our Julian Gray reports.
While maintaining that the healthcare system has handled the pandemic well, Dr. Melissa Evans said this second wave is not unexpected.
Cases are going to spike indeed because we have opened our borders recently. So, of course, we're going to see more numbers come in. And that's just evident. That's just going to happen. It's just science that we are going to have a few more cases come out. How many cases is yet to be determined. We're going to try and keep on top of that.
Dr. Evans is the co-chair of the PLP's COVID-19 Task Force. The expert in infectious diseases said the surge in cases in Grand Bahama in particular is significant. She called for more testing to be done and said people can expect an increase in cases.
Out of almost 400,000 persons in the population, we have tested under 1%. I think the last data was 0.6%. And so we do need to increase testing by far. And so it does show us that now we're beginning to test. And as we begin to test more, we're going to see an increase in cases.
The Bahamas saw 20 new cases in just 8 days. Some of the infected had a history of travel. If the numbers continue to rise, Dr. Evans said the healthcare system can become strained.
Such a surge as what's happening potentially in Grand Bahama or what can potentially happen here since our borders are open can significantly place a lot of burden on our healthcare system. And so we have to really stay on top of it. And that's why this is so important, because we can't afford for our healthcare system to be burdened at this point.
Dr. Evans said the pandemic is worrisome, but people should simply continue to follow the safety protocols in order to stay safe.
A lot of things have been relaxed because the country opened back up, beaches opened back up, there was gatherings and stuff like that, but we're going to stay vigilant. We have to continue to practice social distancing. That's going to be our most important thing right now, along with wearing our masks everywhere we go. That's going to be mandatory. Hand washing 20 seconds or more, that's still, these are still 3 of the most important things that we can do to try and see if we can keep our community safe.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
The National Insurance Board is a ticking time bomb, according to leader of the Democratic National Alliance, ARINTHIA KOMOLAFE. She says the ongoing payout of unemployment benefits due to the pandemic is not sustainable. Our Georgia Ubain has more.
As the National Insurance Board announced that it will launch a new online portal for the government-funded unemployment benefit extension, leader of the Democratic National Alliance, ARINTHIA KOMOLAFE, told Our News that with large companies continuing to push back their reopening dates due to the pandemic, NIB's payouts are unsustainable.
For NIB to be able to meet the demands of the unemployment population, they're not going to be able to meet the demands. It is unsustainable. NIB itself was already a ticking bomb, right? That's one of the issues that successive administrations have been pushing the can down the road. You know, we have those challenges where we're either going to have in the years to come reduced benefits, or they're going to have to eliminate some of those benefits, or we're going to have to increase contributions.
KOMOLAFE is calling on the government to provide a prudent and strategic plan for the economy to relieve unnecessary strain on the public purse.
So NIB already has a challenge With Dorian and with COVID-19, it just exacerbates their situation and the circumstances. This is why it's so imperative for the government to really be very strategic and very prudent with handling and addressing this COVID-19 situation. Because the longer we keep the economy in limbo, the more strain is going to be on the public finances, the more strain is going to be on national insurance, and the more challenge we're going to have with the Bahamian economy.
The economy's state of limbo is proof that the government has no clear plan for the future of the Bahamas, according to KOMOLAFE.
The current administration needs to have an effective economic plan. They've been managing the process, but they have not been focusing on economic growth, which is why it's very difficult now for us to sustain ourselves during these two very serious external shocks. And the last budget did not inspire any hope or any confidence that we would be moving in any direction that would help us to maintain a healthy economy or even move toward growth.
Reporting for our News Weekend edition, I'm Georgia Bain.
And we will take our first break here, but still ahead tonight, why Bahamasair changed its operating system. Plus, a family facing eviction seeks your help, so stay tuned.
Do you know that Rev has changed the names of the television packages on its new website? Your Rev bill will now reflect these new changes. Every package starts with the brand name Rev, then the product type, in this case TV, and then the package level, which ranges from Prime, Pro, Premium, and Prestige. Be sure to check out the newest website at www.rev.bs for the full list of packages available in your area. Stay connected with Rev, anytime, anywhere.
Next tonight, Bahamasair will no longer be using the Sabre Global Distribution System, according to Executive Chairman Tommy Turnquest, who said the system has become too costly to maintain.
The Sabre system is a system used by Delta Airlines and American Airlines and a lot of the major airlines in the U.S. And for them, it's very good. But in terms of developing changes to the system, those airlines have research and development departments and are able to do preliminary work before it gets to Sabre to do it. So every time we ask Sabre for a little change, it's always hundreds of thousands of dollars to do.
According to Turnquest, the new system is set to save the airline millions.
But if I'm burning $6 million a year on a system that can save me $3 million, I'm going to try that system. I'm also going to make sure that I communicate why I'm changing the system. And while persons are resistant to change, change is inevitable.
Turnquest also called on the Minister of Tourism and Aviation to allow Bahamasair to participate in future discussions on tourism.
What I'd like to see more of, and the Minister of Tourism has promised me that, I'd like to see Bahamasair more at the table with the major airlines and the Ministry of Tourism. Bahamasair, I think, for too long has operated in its own fiefdom, and we've got to become more of a part of the tourism pie, and I'd like to see that as well.
In other news this evening, a wife and mother of two is pleading for help and says her family will be evicted tomorrow if they don't pay their rent. The McKinseys fell on hard times after the woman's husband was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. She said they will have nowhere to go if they're evicted. Our Jillian Gray reports.
Mother of two, Anika McKinsey, is pleading for help. Her husband, who was diagnosed with colon cancer just 2 months ago, was the breadwinner of the family. And with him now unable to work, they're facing eviction.
He was taking care of his family well. We had no problem. We never needed for anything. But since this happened to him, it all changed and things just went right down. We went right down like a pauper. I need to keep a roof over his head. I can't let him go on the streets or anything. I have to keep a roof over his head.
McKinsey said it's like experiencing two storms at once. In the midst of the pandemic, the rock of her family was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. The couple has been together for 25 years, and the past few months have been the hardest times they've ever experienced. McKinsey, who is a native of Mayaguana, said she's been calling social services, churches, and civic groups for help. The McKinseys owe $1,200 for the one-bedroom efficiency they rent, and if it is not paid by tomorrow, they will be evicted. McKinsey said it's not been easy.
I don't sleep. I sit up all night because I just let him have the bed because he have the cut and stuff. I can't go to bed, so I let him lay in the bed, sleep in the bed, him and the 2 children, and I sit up all night. And that's what I have to do all night, every day. That's what I do. And it's very rough on me. I have to take care of him, plus I have to take care of my 2 children.
Though still very young, McKinsey said her 9-year-old autistic son and 2-year-old son realized that their father can't play with them like he used to. Her husband had a surgery to remove a tumor and was supposed to begin chemotherapy next week. However, she said after she saw how much weight he lost, her heart broke, and she asked if it could be delayed so that he could gain some more weight. As the sole caretaker of her husband, she says it's difficult to think about leaving him at home. However, she's looking for work to try to help her family.
He's a strong person. He tell me, say, baby, he say, no matter what the doctor tell you, he say, if you find something in the day, go to work, he say, and I'll try my best to watch the kids. He say, you just do what you gotta do. So it'll be night or day right now. We just leaving everything to God. We praying and we just leaving everything to God.
Reporting for our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
All right, thanks a lot, Jillian. When our news, the weekend edition, comes back from the break, Lend a Hand Bahamas prepares 3,000 food packages. The details after this.
Hey. Speaking of ideas, though. Yeah, solid idea, but.
Here we go again.
Joking, boy.
Murder? That on their passport, sir. You better name him murder.
Hey, what did you start? Just gotta be a blessing, boy, because ain't nobody that stupid to come here to lose their money. Losing money, boy.
Gina T? On your right nipple, Gina? What is this?
Don't be what this is, though.
Well, Chrissy brothers, we gotta sing to you. Happy birthday from the Chrissy crew. We can buy one jump now, and all of us can share it. I like him. He's funny. You think that funny? Bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky. It's a birthday, bum chicky.
Lend a Hand Bahamas prepared 3,000 food packages to distribute to families in need in city zones that are a part of the National Food Distribution Task Force. Areas include Angliston, Baines and Grantstown, Mount Moriah, Oaksville, and Centerville. 3,000 bags are prepared weekly.
We have agents in all the community in our zone. So after you've registered, what I do, I supply my agents with a cell phone, and we have a listing of the people that are on the rapid. So they then, and their phone numbers are there, they then create a WhatsApp group and they send out the notification to them. But the Rapid Bahamas, as soon as the database is up and running properly, it will give them an automatic response of where to pick up their bags from.
The program seeks to assist the most vulnerable. Program Director Mitzianne Burrows says they try to provide essential items.
The area in which we serve is kind of a most technical area because for the majority, they are without power, they're without stove and refrigerator. So getting into the meat parcel, we kind of, don't get into that. But we also are trying to provide them with things needed, because for some of them, we give them the parcel, but there's nothing to cook it on. So we try our utmost best to get them maybe a little portable stove and the propane gas.
Up next, how you can walk with a cure during the pandemic. Stay tuned.
Our world has changed. Many businesses have been closed for months with little or no access to their customers until now. Rev Media can help you remain connected to your customers. Our trusted customized advertising packages and personalized consultants will provide your business with immeasurable support during this challenging time. Your customers are already watching. Rev Media can help you to remain connected. Call us today. Let us help you.
Welcome back to our news, the weekend edition. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the 2020 CIBC First Caribbean Walk for the Cure will look a little different this year, according to marketing manager Nakia Christie. Instead of the usual walkathon, she says CIBC will host an awareness campaign.
So there are plans for a Walk for the Cure t-shirt day on Friday, October 2nd. We'll be encouraging Bahamians, anyone who has a Walk for the Cure shirt like the one that I'm wearing or anything lilac and purple, to wear those on Friday, October 2nd, because our push this year is awareness. Of course, we want to raise funds, but we know that with this financial climate, it might not be as successful as previous years, but we want to push the awareness because we are still here and we're still fighting for the cause.
Christie added that Saturday, October 3rd will still be recognized as Walk for the Cure Day, and they're encouraging residents to work out for the cause. She says they will also host a regional Walk for the Cure concert.
On Sunday is going to be our virtual Walk for the Cure concert, and that is a regional event. So that will be all of the countries coming together where CIBC First Caribbean operates. We'll have artists, performers, entertainers performing for you all for the cure. So we will have more details about all of this later, but we want you to tune in. We're going to have Bahamian artists involved in that event from Jamaica, Barbados, Antigua, and we have some big names that have been thrown around. I won't tell you yet.